How you doing, folks? My name is June Planas, and welcome to Recovery Now. And this is my guest, Gordonlyde. How you doing, Gordon?
What's going on? Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, Gordon got a good story here, and as you know, this show is for to let you know that there is hope out there. So, Gordon, the first question I want to ask you is, how did it start? You know, how bad was your habit? How old were you? And how long were you in it until you got clean and sober?
Wow. How was it? I know a lot of times people always ask, like, what's your drug of choice?
Yeah.
Jokingly, I always tell people my drug of choice was what you got.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
whatever you had is what I did.
Bottom feeder.
Yeah, whatever was available. I had my top choice, which
Right.
was crack cocaine.
Okay.
But if that wasn't available, anything else would do. My goal was not to feel,
Right.
to get to that place of numb, that place where things didn't matter. No matter what happened to you, you can, that part of reality where you can see reality, but it can't touch you.
Fantasy Island.
Exactly. But in the beginning, I started using when I was 12, 13. I started with marijuana.
Okay.
In the projects I grew up in New Haven, Rockview. That was just like almost a cultural thing.
Right.
But what I found was that it wasn't so much that I enjoyed the drugs or the booze. It was the effect I got,
Right.
the side effect of it, which was that numb. And that progressed through the years till I encountered crack cocaine. And then that took me on to that rabbit hole, down that rabbit hole of pure hell for the next 20 years.
And even though you did all that numbing, that's what I call it, the numbing years, it did not change anything, any problems that life was throwing at you, any situations like that were always still there. You know, so it's a stupid thing that we waste a lot of time of our lives doing this shit to ourselves. And a lot of people say, well, why don't you just stop? And what they don't realize is this is a disease. It's a disease of the mind. If I was able to stop a long time ago, I wouldn't have been 23 years, 23 years of wasted of my life, drinking and getting high, because I didn't know how to cope with life, and
Yes.
life was kicking my ass, and the drugs and the liquor, it will not help. It wasn't helping me, even
No.
though I thought by numbing myself, what it was doing was making my life worse.
Truly.
So I'm gonna ask you, so, okay, how old were you when you got clean?
When I got clean, December 22nd, 2008. God willing, this December will be 15 years.
And how many years did you waste?
Oh, wow. I wasted a number because when I got clean, I was 39.
Okay, and when you started?
When I started, I was 12, 13.
Wow, shit. See, your time period is about the same as mine.
Yes.
I started I started with moonshine when I was 4.
Good old Stumpo.
Because my dad used to make moonshine in Puerto Rico, but I started with the drugs, even though alcohol is a drug and all that. But like, I started with marijuana when I was 12. And that same year, I discovered Quaaludes and all that. So I started when I was 12 with the drugs, and until I was 45.
Yes.
So what made you change? What made you want to get clean? And how many times did you attempted it before you actually,
So I've been through, I want to say like 16 drug programs.
Wow.
I've been to detox, maybe it's over 50 times I've been to detox. So I've been in and out, in and out. The 15 years I have now, I always say it took me 20 years to get 15.
Wow.
And what made me stop, I remember the exact day. I was at the Regal Inn Motel in New Haven, right on Whaley Avenue. I was in room 217. It was like 12:15, December 22nd, 2008. I was at the party of my life in this room, long stay in the back. Money, I had all the yes people. People, if I tell a corny joke, they would yell. They had
Oh,
women in
yeah,
there that'll
of
do
course,
everything.
of course.
Party of my life.
You got,
And
you had what they wanted.
the God of my understanding, I realize it now. I felt I had that aha moment. He allowed me to feel all the misery that I've tried to numb all my life. So I felt a misery. I felt that pain on a cellular level. And all I knew is two things. I didn't want to go to jail, back to prison, and I didn't want to die.
Right.
So I left that room, checked in another room called Carnes Wheats in Torrington, a drug treatment facility that I had been through prior that year. And I went there, and 2 days later on Christmas Eve, I drove myself. I took a cab all the way to treatment in Torrington from New Haven, and I never looked back.
Okay. So, and with that, you know what? And I was just thinking, because a lot of people, especially doing what I do, when they come into the programs, and then they come in a second and a third time, and then they say stuff like, you know, how do you do it? How did you do it? How are you able to stay clean and sober? I can't seem to do it. I can't seem to do it. And me, I got clean one time, and it's lasted me 13 years. So I'm so far the relapse. I almost relapsed 3 times the first year, but I never have. So when I hear people with the relapse, I like to know more about it, because I've been like right to that borderline, but I haven't fallen yet. And what I want you to tell them is, how many times did you attempted to get clean before you actually got clean? Because I want people to know that this is possible. Just because you can't do it the first time, the second time, some people will take 3, 4 times. You keep trying. You keep trying. You keep trying. If you want to live, and you want this to work for you, you want to make a life for yourself, you keep trying. You don't give up. So how many times did it took you?
So it took me countless times. See, the way I explained it to people, everybody, this is a journey.
Right.
It's not a destination, it's a journey.
Right.
So, like if I wanted, me and you wanted to go downtown.
Right.
We could take different routes to get downtown, but our end destination is getting downtown.
Yeah.
So my journey took me through multiple relapses. See, relapse is not a requirement, but sometimes it says it's that jarring effect that's needed. See, I couldn't get it the first time around. I needed to do more research. I needed to get to a level of desperation and degradation for me to become willing to do anything to stay clean.
Right.
So I needed to bump my head. God bless those like yourself that was one and done. There are many that's done it that way, but if you haven't, don't give up.
Right.
Don't give up, because if I had to go back and do it again, I would relapse just as many times, because those relapses created the character that lives inside the man that I love today.
Right.
It made me who I am. It gave me a level of empathy that's beyond measure. So I can identify with those individuals that struggle, that can't figure out how they're going to do it. Because there was a time I couldn't put 30 days together.
Right.
I went to NA meetings and stand up and lie and say, I got 3 years. I didn't have 30 minutes, but I'll sit up there and lie to them about it.
Right.
Because in that space, I was looking for some type of admiration, a attaboy on the back from, even though it was false. I needed anything outside myself to make me feel good about myself in that moment.
Yeah, anything but the drugs.
Yes.
But that's because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for something to make us feel alive. You know, we're looking to be part of the world again. And when we do the drugs and all that, we feel that at that moment that's what it's doing for us. It makes us feel like we're part of everything, you know. But It's not. It's a false feeling because it goes away, and whatever you're trying to cover is still there, and sometimes it's even worse. But what I like what you just said, because I feel the same way. And when you get to that feeling, when you get to that point, that is one of the things that keep you clean and sober. You know, because what you're just saying is, I want to live, I
Yeah.
want a life. I want to love myself. I don't care if anybody doesn't love me, because I love myself and I know God loves me. And God is one of the most important things in recovery.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you what you call him, is God. God, without God, I would not be what I am today. I would not be the person I am today. I would not care enough to sit here and do this, what I'm doing right now, or do the kind of work that I do, just the same as you. And I would like anybody that's watching this show, if you have a drug problem and you don't know what to do about it, listen to this show and get some help. There's a lot of facilities all over the place. Do not be ashamed because people are judging you or whatever. This is a life-saving program. The program of recovery. So now, what I want to know is, after you got clean and sober, what is your life like? What you have done to help the next person, and what has recovery done for you?
Let's just put it this way before I tell you all the things. I always say I live in a perpetual pinch myself moment.
Oh yeah, we all
Because
do.
I have this life that's amazing.
Right.
Like, I'm a correctional counselor in the Department of Corrections. I work at Manson
Okay.
Youth Institution. I work with the young adults
Okay.
from 15 to 21 that have serious charges from murder to whatever. I went from having an inmate number 217789, getting a full pardon. I went back to school, earned a couple of degrees. I'm a certified addiction counselor as well as
Okay.
mental health. I've worked at just about all the nonprofits, from Detoxes, First Step, to App Foundation, Connecticut Renaissance, all the way up to where I'm at in corrections. I'm also a senior program manager with the Hall of Change and Hang Time, which is an organization where we help men and women adjust and navigate the social network system,
Right.
or public network system of help once they get out of incarceration. So with the halfway houses and things of that nature, and we help them navigate the system, and we create a safe space for them to grow and learn. So I've been afforded opportunity to be things that I didn't even know existed. I didn't know there was a possibility that I would ever go back to
Right.
prison to work. Like, I go to prison every day. I walk into behind that wire
Yeah.
every day,
So-
which is mind blowing.
That is freaking incredible, man. Because I was trying to add up. You had 23 years out there, and it took you multiple times to get clean and sober, and look all that you have achieved since.
Yeah.
And there's more,
There's so much more to come.
So this is what I'm talking about, This is what I'm talking about, people. There is life, you know. You don't have to be this way. You don't have to live this way. All you got to do is want to be clean and sober. All you got to do is want this. And you fight. You fight as hard. I mean, you fight. If there was a storm and you wanted a bag of crack, you would walk through that storm to get it.
I've done
For
it.
$20. I've done it.
Done it.
I've
Sell
done
a
it too.
microwave in a
Yeah,
snowstorm.
Yeah, and then you come back and you got beat. But you did this, So why can't you put that effort and more into staying clean and sober? Fight, man, fight. Pretend it's a storm, and your recovery is that bag of crack, man. Chase it just like you chase a drug. You chase recovery just like you chase your drugs,
And it's true. You have to chase it because you chase that recovery, you chase that solution, because here's an example. Like, everyone always says like marijuana is the gateway drug. I
Nah.
disagree. Trauma is. Trauma is the basis of all the drug use. It's that trauma that existed before the addiction. Addiction is the byproduct, is what we use and what we develop, what we gravitated to deal with the trauma. So the chasing we do with active addiction is so we don't feel.
Right.
The chasing I do today in recovery is going through the pain so I can heal.
Right. It's a
So I
healing
went
process.
I went that pain of not feeling, I went
Mm-hmm.
from not wanting to feel to running towards healing.
Right.
See, because the more I heal, the better I become.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a duty. I don't say about anyone else. I have a duty and obligation to help the next man or woman.
I think we all do. I'm sorry. I think
I can't. I believe we all should, but I can't
Yes,
put my
yes.
obligation on anyone. I
let's
say
say
it
for
for
me,
me.
yep,
I
yep,
have a duty,
yep.
because once I make it out the woods, I have a duty to help the
Right.
next man out the woods, so he can help the next
Yeah,
man and help the
and
next
that's
man.
exactly what's happening right now.
Yes.
That's what's happening right now. That's why I do this, you know, because I believe as I was helped, and people didn't have to help me. Strangers didn't have to take the time to talk to me. You know, sponsors, you know, caring and taking me through the steps, and then going beyond that, not just taking me through steps, but showing me how to live. Because the thing about it was that I had partial amnesia at the time that I got clean and sober. I had to learn to live at the same time. So I woke up in recovery, if you know, if you
Yeah.
put it that way. And I tell people, man, anybody that wants to get clean and sober, recovery is a beautiful way of life, man. You know, I don't know what normal is, you know, what people call normal, but I believe that today my life is it's normal. It's I have a good life, just like you know, and I'm I'm proud of the stuff that I do, because a lot of the stuff I do is to help other people, you know, and that is what I think that as human beings, it's our duty to help one another, not just because of the drugs, but period, you know? I mean, you got people that are rich, billions of dollars, and while you got people that are starving and look like skeletons because they ain't got nothing to eat, you know, that to me, you know. And I always said, when, you know, it's not a religious show, but when Jesus walked the earth, Jesus healed, never charged anybody. He fed people, never charged them. He forgave people and all that. And I take that as a message that we supposed to be giving, you know? And so as an alcoholic addict, this is what I give, you know?
Yes.
This is what I give. If my words or whatever I do could put a seed in your head to make you want to think about, okay, you know what, maybe this is right for me. Maybe there is hope. I'm going to do this. Then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And so will you.
Absolutely.
So now, I wanted to ask you, you know, what's a drug situation like in the drug system, in a jail system, you know?
So,
And is it recovery, you know?
yes. So, like it.
I used to when I lived in Florida. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We used to take meetings to the jails. You know, so I mean, is that still happening out here?
That has picked up. So that has picked up because COVID had shut down.
Right.
It was really big H&I coming into prisons, but then when COVID had shut it down, so it's picking back up at a lot of facilities. At my facility, we create. I've created a recovery wing myself, a
Okay.
fellow counselor, and my supervisor. We put together this recovery wing where we got young men together in this wing in one of the cottages and offer them the addiction service programming. Are there drugs in the prison? In our facility, there's more Pruno being made than drugs because they're young. But the adult facilities, yes, because there's Suboxone strips that's going around. There's all kind. There's overdoses that are happening in prison because people come in.
Right.
People bring it in. However, it comes in. Let's just say it comes in from the outside. How it gets in, but it comes in. So it's gonna happen. So anytime you get a person that has a drug habit, a group of them, they're gonna find a way of getting
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you personally, I got high off nutmeg for like 3 years with a kitchen job.
Shit. Uh, orange peels.
Yeah, I took nutmeg. I think I'm one of the reasons why they took nutmeg out of the prison kitchen
Oh,
system because
shit.
I used to take a cap full of nutmeg, put it in a glass of water, stir it up, drink it down. It give you a mild weed high, and you don't test positive on the urine.
Look at that.
I stayed high off nutmeg for 3 years. I was always glassy eyed. But so there will always be drugs in prison because you have that addictive personality, plus it's just the personality. You have the active user and the person supplying it. So it's all addictive personalities and it's part of that disease. So it will happen.
So how was the recovery part?
The recovery, there is a lot of strong recovery. There's a lot of programming. So they call tier programs. You have a tier one, which is an introduction to substance use, the drugs themselves, the effects of it. Then you have a tier two in prison, which is the equivalent of an IOP on the street. So it's
Okay.
more intensive, it's more deep. It goes beneath the surface, dealing with behaviors and things of that nature. So it's like 3 to 4 times a week. Then you have a tier 4 program, which is it's an inpatient.
Okay.
So they have a whole cottage building or wing that's just devoted to them and is very structured and regimented like a treatment facility. From sun up to sundown, you're programming. And they teach you this, they try to promote healthy habits. And they're very effective in the information that's given. Like at Carl Robinson, you have the time program. You have a tier 4 at Osborne, which used to be Summers. I forgot what it's called, but it's in the J program. Great program, tier 4, as well as tier 2 there. Cybulski has sort of a hybrid tier 4, but it's more like a integration to society, more a reentry focus. But then you have the tier 4 at the women's facility, York Macy Bainey or something like Lucy Bainey. I got the name wrong. I forgot the name. I'm going to give the wrong name. Forgive me, anybody watching. I don't know the name, but it's a tier 4 at York Correctional, which is amazing with the women over there. So there is a lot of recovery. So there's a lot of stuff happening. We have CCAR going into the prisons.
Okay.
Their H&I is starting up, and it's really starting to move again. They also have smart recovery in the prison, which is it's a different lane outside of just your typical NAAA. What it does is it gets away from the labels of addict, alcoholic,
Right.
because people get caught up in the stigma of the labels. So it doesn't really talk so much about the drugs or the motivation, the cravings, and the dealing with all the things after you stop.
Yeah.
Because-
that's where the shit begins.
Yes, because that's when the easiest part of getting clean
Yeah.
is getting clean.
Yeah.
The hard part is maintaining
Staying,
that because
yep, staying. Mm-hmm.
the world doesn't go into recovery because you stop using drugs.
Yep.
The world is still just as twisted as it was before.
Yeah. Only now it feels worse because you're trying not to be part of it,
Yeah.
even though and inside of you, you still got that hunger, because that hunger stays with you for a while, you know. And even you know what? And even after you're being clean, as long as I've been clean, once in a while, you get a thought, because I get a thought, and I remember what my sponsor once told me, man. It's not what pops into your head; it's what you do with it. So, like, I love Molson's. With the, this is what I see, man. When I get I see the bottle of Molson with the sweat dripping and a little piece of ice floating on there.
Yeah.
And then I start thinking about all this stuff, like, God, this beautiful tree, you know, you're a beautiful artist. I put my mind into other stuff, and, you know, and it's gotten easy over the years, because at first it's hard to do that, you know.
Absolutely.
But I tell people, you can do it, you know, even in jail.
I tell people all the time, and some people ask me questions about my sobriety, and I tell them, one thing about me, I'll never tell you I hate drugs.
Right. I
So they
love
say, I love drugs.
I love
Drugs
'em.
worked.
I love them.
They worked.
Yeah.
The problem was the consequences outweighed, because if you remove the consequences of using drugs, so I didn't have all the negative
Right.
aspects, they found a way of doing that.
Right.
I'll smoke crack today.
Yeah.
Crack worked. The problem is I broke out in handcuffs every time I did it. I committed
Yup.
crimes. I was a
Yup.
I was a deadbeat dad. I didn't pay bills. I ruined relationships. It was all the other stuff.
You wake up and don't remember what you did, or you could wake up in jail and not remember killing somebody.
I woke up underneath the bench
Yup.
in Union Avenue in New Haven, and the processing officer had to tell me whose blood was on my shirt.
Yeah.
No lie. I've had that happen because I didn't know what happened. I just knew I was under a bench and it smelled like crap. I looked like crap, and I had blood on my shirt.
You want to hear a good story?
Sure.
See if you got time. You ever heard of Boat?
Bo.
Boat. They call it Boat. Lovely, Whack, Dookie Green. Those are the names they had back in the 80s. Bobbin fluid and elephant tranquilizer. And,
Oh, okay.
And you dip your reefer in it. Anyway, I smoked that one time, and I was living with my mom. It was back in the 80s, and I told her I was going to the bar. I went and got me when it was $10 a joint. I went up in the attic. The next day, I woke up and the bed was wet. My room was like a tornado hit it, and I couldn't remember what happened. And I was in the attic, but I woke up in the bed, and I had flashes of my mom going like this. And I thought I'd pee on the bed. I was like, what the fuck? Oops. So anyway, the floor was wet and everything was wet. And it turned out that while I smoked that shit, I got so high, I got naked. And my mom says that I went up to the porch and and she said, where you going? And I told her I was going jogging and I was butt naked. And she chased me through my room with a bucket of water. But she said I was yelling because back then I didn't believe in God. She said I was cursing at God, and then I was gonna go jogging, butt naked and shit. I don't remember to this day. All I remember is seeing my mom going like this, God rest her soul. But yeah, man, I thank you for coming and being a guest today.
Thank you for having me.
Gordonlyde.
Thank you.
Why you lie, Gordon?
I try not to do it, but the day's still young.
So yeah, folks, thank you for watching, and give a hand to my guests. And remember, God loves you. God loves us all.
Yes.
Peace.
Later.